Japan's security environment has undergone a profound transformation over the past few years, and the pace of change has accelerated markedly in recent months. What was once a relatively predictable post-Cold War setting has evolved into a far more complex and contested strategic space. Increased military activity by neighboring powers, combined with structural shifts in regional power balances, has forced Tokyo to reassess long-standing assumptions about defense, deterrence, and its own role in East Asia. The result is not a sudden break with the past, but a gradual and carefully calibrated redefinition of what self-defense means in practice. The most immediate pressure comes from the air and maritime domains. Joint patrols by Chinese and Russian aircraft near Japan's airspace, along with more assertive naval operations in surrounding waters, have placed sustained operational strain on the Japan Air Self-Defense Force and the Maritime Self-Defense Force. Scramble rates have risen. Surveillance missions have become routine rather than exceptional, and the cost of constant readiness has grown steadily. This reality highlights a core dilemma. A purely reactive posture, focused on intercepting and monitoring each individual incident, risks exhausting personnel and resources without fundamentally altering adversary behavior. Over time, this dynamic weakens deterrence rather than strengthening it. Against this backdrop, Japan has begun to explore a more robust deterrence framework. Officially, Tokyo continues to emphasize its exclusive defense-oriented policy, a cornerstone of post-war security thinking. In practice, however, the boundaries of that policy are being stretched. The acquisition of long-range strike capabilities, advanced intelligence and surveillance systems, and integrated command and control networks signals a shift toward deterrence by denial. The goal is not to threaten large-scale retaliation, but to convince potential adversaries that any attempt to coerce or attack Japan would fail to achieve its objectives at an acceptable cost. This doctrinal evolution is intentionally subtle. Japanese policymakers are careful to avoid language associated with preemptive strikes or offensive warfare. Instead, they frame new capabilities as extensions of self-defense, necessary to respond to missile threats and rapidly evolving regional contingencies. The distinction is politically and legally significant. By emphasizing defensive intent, Tokyo seeks to remain aligned with constitutional constraints while adapting to a strategic environment in which long-range precision weapons are increasingly central to modern warfare. Procurement decisions offer the clearest window into this transformation. Record-level defense budgets have enabled Japan to invest heavily in missile systems, unmanned platforms, and multi-layered air and missile defense. These investments are not isolated purchases, but components of a broader strategy to enhance situational awareness, shorten decision-making cycles, and integrate seamlessly with allied forces. At the same time, Tokyo has placed renewed emphasis on strengthening its domestic defense industry, viewing industrial capacity as an essential element of long-term strategic autonomy rather than a purely economic concern. The Taiwan contingency looms large in Japanese strategic calculations. While Tokyo avoids explicit commitments, there is growing recognition that a conflict in the Taiwan Strait would have direct and immediate implications for Japan's security. Sea lanes critical to Japan's economy pass through nearby waters, and the southwestern islands form a geographic bridge between the main archipelago and Taiwan. As a result, Japanese planning increasingly treats Taiwan not as a distant flashpoint, but as an integral part of the regional security equation. This does not imply an eagerness for confrontation. Rather, it reflects a sober assessment of interdependence and risk. Domestic public opinion remains a decisive factor, shaping how far and how fast Japan can move. Surveys consistently show broad support for increased defense spending and improved readiness, particularly in light of visible regional tensions. At the same time, there is notable hesitation when discussions turn to expanded military roles or potential involvement in regional conflicts. This ambivalence reflects Japan's post-war identity, deeply influenced by constitutional pacifism and historical memory. Generational differences are apparent, with younger Japanese tending to prioritize pragmatic security considerations, while older cohorts emphasize restraint and diplomatic solutions. Managing this internal balance is as important for Tokyo as managing external threats. Alliances play a critical role in bridging these tensions. The United States remains Japan's primary security partner, providing extended deterrence and advanced capabilities that Japan cannot easily replicate alone. Increasingly, however, the alliance is evolving from a protector-dependent relationship into a more reciprocal partnership. Joint exercises, integrated planning, and shared technological development underscore this shift. Cooperation with Australia further reinforces this trend, adding depth to regional deterrence while dispersing risk across multiple partners. For Japan, these relationships provide strategic reassurance without requiring overt militarization. The cumulative effect of these developments raises an important question: is Japan becoming a normal military power? The answer depends largely on how normality is defined. Japan is not abandoning its post-war principles, nor is it seeking the capacity for independent power projection on a global scale. Instead, it is constructing a distinct model of security policy, one that blends constitutional restraint with credible deterrence. This model prioritizes transparency, alliance integration, and incremental change over dramatic gestures. Looking ahead to the early 2030s, certain trends appear difficult to reverse. Japan will continue to expand its ability to monitor and respond to regional threats, particularly in the missile and aerospace domains. Cyber and space capabilities will assume greater prominence, reflecting the changing character of warfare. At the same time, demographic pressures and fiscal constraints will force difficult choices, reinforcing the importance of efficiency and cooperation. External reactions, especially from China, will also shape Japan's trajectory, as Tokyo seeks to strengthen its defenses without triggering uncontrolled escalation. In strategic terms, Japan is navigating a narrow path. It must reassure its public that enhanced defense capabilities serve peace rather than undermine it, while signaling to potential adversaries that coercion will not succeed. This balancing act defines Japan's current moment. Rather than a dramatic remilitarization, what is unfolding is a quiet recalibration grounded in realism and shaped by history. In an increasingly uncertain East Asian security environment, Japan's evolving approach may prove to be one of the most consequential experiments in modern defense policy.